Alright, so I thought I'd make another video about one of my more niche beliefs because obviously I think it's probably better to talk more about the issues that you know less about than to talk about the issues you already know more about. I could talk to you about abortion. I'm pro choice. I could talk to you about that issue, but I don't think there's much that I can say that hasn't already been said better by like John Oliver or whatever, or somebody local to you who knows about abortion on a detailed level. So instead, I'm going to talk to you about advertising because I hate advertising. I have a very strong anti-advertising stance, and I also think that the time is right for an anti-advertising sort of movement. I think there's a latent anti-advertising energy, and it's time for it, right? So I don't just criticize advertising because I know a lot of people who are kind of vaguely critical of advertising, but then if you ever actually talk to them about, oh, what do you want to do about it? Right? What do you want to do about like this sort of corporate commodification culture thing? They'll be like, what do you mean do about it? Like what you were just criticizing things for no reason then. You didn't actually want to do anything. I actually want to do something. I actually think that we should just flat out ban advertising. So, as a bold stance, so let me go right into it. I think that the main problem with advertising, and the thing that makes it more modern, I got it written right here, is that ads cause more harm than ever in the modern day because they make our media more addictive than ever before. Back when we had books were the primary thing that everybody was using for entertainment, and advertising was just like a piece of paper you would see at the beginning of the newspaper, telling you about a local business. I don't think ads were that harmful back then, and I think that you didn't have a lot of access to information. People had a hard time getting information back then. So back then it made sense that we needed this advertising to get the information out there. And the only way that we were really going to get that information was if the businesses themselves paid for it. In the modern day, that's not the case. So we've moved from reading books to watching TV. And then our news changed. Our newspapers, which were, I think, a lot more reliable and a lot more tame in terms of the news they reported, we switched to a 24-hour news cycle, and all of a sudden everything was natural disasters, or it was puppies, or it was mass shootings. It was sensationalist, attention grabbing stuff. And our politics also nationalized at that time. There's a great book called The Increasingly United States about how our media consolidated to the national level. So we started talking more and more about national politics and less about local politics, pretty much right at the same time that we made a shift from like low dopamine books to high dopamine news cycle where everything is repeated over and over again to make up as much time as possible. And that didn't happen just because of the technological change. There was some of it that I think is just technological, but some of it was because of advertising. The technological change created a new opportunity to put your product in front of more people's faces. So advertising became the reason why so much of our media is so addictive. And that's even more true now on social media. If we want to talk about solutions for how to make social media less addictive, because I think there are a lot of people on the left who would agree with the people on the right who are saying these big tech companies are making addictive social media, it's hurting our kids, we need to do something about it. I don't think they really have much of a game plan. Uh, it seems like maybe the left thinks that breaking up big tech or antitrust policy will somehow, in a roundabout sort of a way, make social media less addictive. Like it's a very vague sentiment at the moment. There's not much of a game plan. So I'm going to cut right through it and say, just ban it. Just get rid of it. Get rid of advertising. Don't ban social media. I don't think. I think ban advertising and force them to adopt a subscriber model where instead of advertisers being the customer, you're the actual customer, the actual person using the social media. I think that would make marked improvements in how our social media gets designed. It wouldn't fix everything, but it would go a long way. The other reason I think now is a good time, right? Reason number 2 here, because ads are less necessary than ever before. Like I said, in the past, you didn't have a lot of information and you needed to get your information from somewhere, and it just made sense that the people most willing to fund keeping people informed were the businesses themselves. That's not true anymore. If you're really doing what economists would say you're doing when you're watching advertisement, your behavior would be very different, because they say that when you watch an advertisement, you're just like gathering information. You're sitting there and you're just getting all your rational information about which products are good and which products are bad, and you're trying to determine the best, most rational choice for you on the market. And then when you go out to buy something, you just use that good consumer information you got from the advertising to make the best choice possible. That is so far removed from reality. The reason why advertising isn't just a string of like black text on a white background of facts and information, the reason why our media can be addictive at all is because we're not perfectly rational. We have an irrational side to us. And most advertising takes advantage of this. It doesn't just feed us information, it associates that information with value systems. That's why they make it look like you want to have sex with the burgers at Burger King. If you pay really close attention, the ads will sexualize their food as a way of being like implying that if you get food from this restaurant, maybe you'll get laid. You know, if you drink Red Bull, or if you use Axe body spray, that's the best example. If Axe body spray is covered in shameless advertising that says if you use this body spray, women will have sex with you. So that's really what they're selling. They're not selling this body spray is cheaper than all of the competitors' body spray because we use a special formula. That's not what they're selling. They're selling you'll get laid, and they're doing it based on the quality of the advertising itself, not the product. And so it's bad information. It's not the kind of information we actually want about a product. And we know that because when we go to actually buy a product in the modern day, I think people would look at you like you had 3 heads if you go to buy a product and you say out loud, oh, I saw a commercial and I remembered the name of this product from that commercial and that's why I'm buying it. That's ridiculous. No, especially if you're going for something expensive, because we don't pay attention much when it's something affordable, right? But if you're buying a product that's expensive, which is when you start to care about quality and care about comparing different brands more than you normally would, that's when you start to do things like go on YouTube and watch a bunch of reviewers. You know, I'm talking into a webcam right now. I bought this webcam. The way that I got this webcam was I looked up a bunch of YouTubers telling me top 10 affordable webcams, right? Those YouTubers weren't advertisers. They weren't putting their ads in between in commercial breaks in your favorite TV shows. They weren't paid by the companies they're talking about either. In fact, if they were paid by the companies they were talking about, we wouldn't trust them. We only trust them because at the beginning of the video they clarify that they're not sponsored by any of the companies they're talking about. And that's why we trust them to objectively report on what the best brands are for their own experience, for the consumer. So you can't convince me that advertising is this fundamentally benevolent thing towards the consumer if every time we actually try to buy something, we reach for people who are going to give us real good information and not lie to us the way that advertisers do. So in the digital age, we have more possible ways to get information than ever before, and we have less reason to need ads than ever before, and yet they're causing more harm than ever. So if there was ever a time to get behind this idea, I think now is the time. Yeah, I think that's my case. I think I've made my case. I think you're all gonna ban advertising. Every single one of you who watched this video is gonna ban advertising. I mean, get together, call your congressman, and then just slowly explain to the